Abigail was not a rat. In my last video, I noticed a lot of comments claiming that it was actually Abigail who was the main rat sabotaging the gang. So in this video, I wanted to prove why Abigail is actually innocent. The earliest example that suggests Abigail is a rat is when she asks Arthur to do something with Jack on account of his actual father being mostly absent in his life.
Would you do something with Jack? He seems kind of down. All this upheaval can't have been easy on the poor kid.
Now, there were a few comments on my video claiming that Abigail specifically asked Arthur to take Jack fishing by the lake, but that obviously was not what she actually said. Doing something with Jack could mean hunting a buffalo in the woods for all she knows, or any other activity. I agreed that it was strange that the Pinkertons happened to show up when Arthur was with Jack, but considering that Dutch and the gang had just robbed the Cornwall train near Granite Pass, it kinda makes sense that the general location of their camp would be discovered. You also have to ask yourself, why would Abigail put Jack's safety in danger here, and why would she believe that Dutch's right-hand man would ever be intimidated enough to give up their location? In Chapter 3, the gang gets into a lot of trouble trying to swindle both of the wealthy families in Lemoyne, which ends up resulting in a massive shootout in Rhodes, as well as Abigail's son being kidnapped by the Braithwaite woman. Why would Abigail be writing to Milton if he was cool with letting her son get kidnapped? Wouldn't she have insisted on Jack's safety being a top priority considering the risk she was taking? In Chapter 4, the Pinkertons aren't involved in getting Jack back from Angela Bronte at all. There was no rescue op from them, and Dutch, John, and Arthur had to put their necks out on the line in order to rescue him. There is just no way that the Pinkertons orchestrated the entire scheme of the Braithwaites kidnapping Jack in order to get Dutch out in the open. No mother worth their salt would use their own child as a pawn in a sting operation. Abigail had absolutely no idea where Jack even was or what could happen to him. Rewatch the cutscene where she demands to know where her son is. That kind of desperation in her voice is not an act. Later on in Chapter 4, a few days after Jack is returned to the camp unharmed, the O'Driscolls ambush the gang. Once again, Jack's life was put in danger and he could have easily been killed by a stray bullet during the firefight. You would think by now that Abigail would have, I don't know, insisted that Agent Milton put her and the rest of her family into witness protection? What good is money if your entire family ends up dead either by the government or another gang? The chapter ends with the failed bank robbery in Saint Denis. Abigail and Hosea were tasked with causing a massive distraction in the center of town, which would allow the rest of the gang to rob the bank without worrying about police interference. Hosea ends up getting captured and shot by Agent Milton, but Abigail winds up getting away. Now on the surface level, this of course looks very suspicious, but we never actually find out why Hosea got caught lacking. Maybe both Abigail and Hosea got chased by the law, but considering that Hosea was much older and physically weaker than Abigail, it would make perfect sense as to why he ended up getting captured. It's important to note that Abigail and Hosea had a very special bond throughout the game, and she looked up to him as a father figure. Again, why would Abigail put another person she loved into the government's crosshairs? Literally. Also, don't forget that her husband, John, was in the bank and could have easily been killed during the shootout. John ended up getting arrested and sent to Sisika, which was a penitentiary on an island off the coast of Saint Denis. Now, all of the other examples of Abigail not being a rat pale in comparison to what I'm about to share next. After Arthur and everyone else that was still alive after the bank job returns from Guarma, Agent Milton immediately finds them at Lakay and does this.
Come out with your hands up! Give them to a count of 5, then give them everything. Actually, let them have it.
Okay, I'm sorry for repeating myself a lot in this video, but this is just crazy. If Abigail truly was an informant to the Pinkertons, they would not unleash a freaking Gatling gun on her and Jack. Either Abigail is a complete psychopath who only cares about herself, which still wouldn't make any sense considering they were shooting at her as well. After Arthur saves the gang from certain annihilation yet again, Abigail immediately asks Dutch about how they are going to rescue John. Agent Milton would easily be able to use his connections to spring John, but of course, since Abigail is not a rat, that doesn't happen. Instead, she begs Sadie and Arthur to free him and even insists on going there herself. In the final chapter of Beaver Hollow, Abigail literally ends up getting kidnapped by the same agent that she was allegedly helping. Now you could argue that this was planned as a way of getting Dutch out in the open, which I might have agreed with if Abigail didn't murder Agent Milton. Whether you are an informant or not, killing a high-ranking government official would end up with you being hanged. Finally, at the end of the game, after John kills Micah, Agent Ross tracks down where he and his family live. If Abigail truly was a rat, the events of the first Red Dead Redemption would have never happened. So, in conclusion, I don't believe that Abigail was necessarily the most moral person of the gang, but she certainly was not a rat. I still believe that Micah and Trelawney both played a major hand in bringing the gang down to its knees, and Abigail had absolutely nothing to do with it. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, because this channel is super close to hitting 1,000 subscribers. Thank you all, and I'll see you in the next video.